Tuesday marked World Humanitarian Day, and while many people were celebrating the great humanitarian workers in their lives, we also got news of a new report which found that 2013 was the most dangerous year for aid workers since the data has been measured. The UK-based nonprofit Humanitarian Outcomes reported that 155 aid workers had been killed, 171 injured, and 134 kidnapped in 2013. Now, the caveat in this report is that it doesn't necessarily mean aid workers are less safe overall. Most of the increases that we saw in these incidents were in conflict countries, in conflict zones that have been ridden with conflict over the past year. The Asian Development Bank faced some criticism this week around a hydropower plant in Laos where there have been some alleged safeguard violations. Last week, the bank had given a green light to a $50 million loan for a dam in central Laos, which was intended to generate about 290 megawatts of power, most of which would be given to Thailand. Devex early intelligence report showed that the increased power generation, which is targeted at sort of improving the power trade relationship with Thailand, wouldn't necessarily result in sustainable development to those affected communities, according to some international advocacy groups, International Rivers, and Mekong Watch. It's not the first time the ADB has faced some challenges. They admitted some mistakes back in February related to a controversial rail project in Cambodia. The World Bank has also come under criticism for some similar practices, so it's definitely a story that we'll continue to watch. USAID announced this week that it was preparing to scale its response to Ebola, particularly in providing additional equipment, especially protective suits for the health workers that are on the ground. Also, in an op-ed for Devex, a senior manager for Goal talked about the situation in Sierra Leone, where frontline workers are really facing some serious challenges, and there's a growing number of Ebola orphans whose parents have either died from the disease or have been quarantined, and some of the challenges that aid organizations are facing in addressing that problem. He also really called on the need for a long-term response to Ebola, not only trying to mitigate the spread of the disease currently, which is critically important, but also the severely broken down health system that has resulted from this crisis, and that it will take years to rebuild it to a place where it's functioning appropriately. And aid measures should really look at the full scope of what's necessary, and also at some of the economic consequences that have come as the result of this crisis. For more on this story and global development news, please stay tuned to Devex.